I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die historic on the Fury Road.
Welcome to the Mad Max Minute H2O. That's our go in Mad Max Fury Road, 1 minute at a time. I'm Rick.
And I'm Julia.
And today we're talking about minute 35, which begins with Max demanding water, and it ends with the DAG trying to pass off her bolt cutters to Furiosa. Joining us again to help us analyze liquid flow dynamics are Karen, Liz, and Caitlin.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, thanks for having us back.
Hello, I'm Liz.
And Caitlin.
And I'm Karen.
And Liz.
And Liz!
And Liz.
I don't like going first.
I'm John Blah.
You might remember us from the other episode that we kind of trundled through.
Which one was that? There's been a few. Okay.
So when we wrapped on Monday, we were in a super tense situation where Max was holding the Wives and Furiosa at gunpoint, and he was getting pretty jealous of the fact that they had a hose of water. And so here at the top of minute 35, he growls out the word water.
Which feels very Maxian.
It's very Max-like.
Is Maxian a word? I'm not sure. But yeah, it is now.
It's like, what would Max say if he wanted water? Water. Yep, that's it. Nailed it.
And there have been other times in this movie so far where, mostly in voiceover, he's done a lot of talking that this felt not Maxian. So this does feel like a bit of a return.
Max is not the kind of guy that would walk into this situation and tip an invisible hat and say, "Pardon me, my ladies, may I partake of that water?"
And they would say no, because you're creepy.
So instead, he slinks up behind their truck, throws a war boy to the ground like Thor does the cup, and it's like, another!
It does yield results, though.
Yeah.
Sure, I would find that distracting. Like, that would be something that would get my attention. I'm not quite so jaded yet that, you know.
I mean, it's a pretty straightforward situation.
It's true.
Dude shows up, points his gun, water.
It's a simple story. You know, boy meets water, boy throws more boy. Profit, and then water.
There's an interesting thing that's going on here. Angharad is the bold wife, but she still checks with Furiosa to make sure that it's okay to give this stranger with a gun water. Because at the end of the day, Furiosa is technically calling the shots, and she is the head security advisor in this situation. And so as bold as Angharad is, she's like, "Hey, Furiosa, what's the play here?" And Furiosa gives her the nod. Do it.
I know I said this in the last minute, and so now I'm sounding like I'm taking it back. But I almost feel like this is like, do I have to go over there and bring him this water? Because she definitely is like scared. I feel like she's kind of made her stand, but now it's like, oh, you actually want me to like go over to this crazy mother lover with his mother trucker with his big gun and his weird, I don't even know what, his bracelet war boy.
No, I mean, at the same time, even a leader like needs someone to check in with, needs an advisor, needs a tactic. Furiosa's the one with the tactics. Furiosa's the one who's been out in the world, and you can trust more to read a situation and to read a person. So a threat appears like Max. Angharad, it makes sense for her to sort of look over at Furiosa.
It also gives us, like, if you don't know any of the supplemental information, so you're not reading any of the comics, or if, you know, for some reason you were foolish and decided not to read the Mad Max wiki while watching Fury Road, or say having the subtitles on, which I completely suggest you do if you have not done so already. There's a lot of Australian slang in this that I do not know. And there's a lot of mumbling. I mean, we barely make out that he says the word water. But I think it says something about their relationship with Furiosa that they do kind of defer to her, you know, that she is not someone that they're afraid of, but someone that they trust.
Right.
She's not just an authority figure. She's there to help them.
She's their guide.
Yeah.
It feels very relatable and very real world that Angharad is able to and has the chutzpah to stand there defiantly and shut off that water and physically stand up to this person who is threatening her, but to then take another brave step to step forward and walk up to him needs a little bit more of a push.
Yeah, that's a good
Just because
point.
you're brave enough to do one thing doesn't mean you're brave enough to do another thing.
She can speak up and be, oh, we're not going back and you're not getting any of this water. And then he demands it. And she's like, oh, Furiosa, I just did this thing where I turned off the water and I said we're not going back. And now he wants me to go over there. It's like, what do I do?
I don't want to send him any mixed signals.
Yeah. I don't want him to think that I'm just being nice to him because I don't want him to misinterpret that.
I only have experience with one other guy. He's kind of an asshole. I just don't want to send these messages. Please help. You just freed me. Please don't let this be a thing.
Yeah. So we're paused over here at second 9. And just in case anybody is wondering, the actresses have said in interviews it was cold that day.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the elephant in the room in second 9 is the nipples. These drive me nuts.
Me too.
Like nipples just in general?
No,
or just
this
okay.
particular pair. Because Zoe Kravitz on the...
Wait, Lenny Kravitz's
Yeah,
daughter?
Lisa
Bonet's
Kravitz's daughter.
No,
And
kidding.
Lisa Bonet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which you can totally... Now,
I don't know
hold on.
who
I'm
that
completely
is, but-
captivated. She was the oldest daughter on The Cosby Show.
I never watched The Cosby Show.
Oh my God, I'm ancient. Please continue with your point.
Zoe Kravitz on the supplemental material spoke a little bit about having some input on what her outfit was going to be like. She didn't want it to be as skimpy and revealing as some of the other ones. So she wanted to wear more or less a t-shirt and whatever bottoms she is or isn't wearing because she wanted to be covered up a little bit more. And then she ends up like this.
Yeah, awkward.
Just not sure that this is more modest than what the other women are wearing. I do appreciate that it's different, though. Each woman is wearing something unique.
Right.
Helps to tell us something about their personality.
And I think it also tells us that they are really just working with what they could scrape together. You definitely get the sense that Joe is not the kind of person that would give them a lot of options when it comes to things that they can wear, because they are things there for his purpose. And so he wouldn't say, send his war boys out to raid a clothing store or something like that.
Craft Town.
Yeah.
I think they're usually like Ferengi women. They just naked all the time, probably.
And so they gathered up what material they could. This is probably just the bed sheets that they had in the harem itself. And they've
Really?
repurposed them to
You
be
don't think
real
that they
clothing.
would be well dressed?
No.
I think they would actually be probably naked.
I can definitely see that they wouldn't have any clothing at all. I do like the idea that these are bed sheets fashioned into some sort of clothing.
Because you look at how Angharad is dressed, and sure, from the front it looks like an actual dress, but as she passes the camera,
Yeah,
you
that's
can
like-
see that it's tied in the back and really bunched around as if it's thrown together.
It does look like a bed sheet. I like the comparison to Ferengis, whose women just walk around naked. It's their natural state.
Mother, why are you wearing clothes? It's embarrassing.
My mind goes quickly to harems as we know them from, like,
The Arabian Nights.
thank
or
you, from
something.
the Arabian Nights. The women are beautifully dressed, like Jasmine in Aladdin. Clothing like that. Not necessarily that style, but beautifully dressed.
Yeah, really. Why aren't these
Well
women wearing
cared
those
for.
great MC Hammer drop crotch
Yeah,
trousers?
be cool and comfortable.
They're
Well, I mean,
literally
they're-
called harem pants.
Yeah,
they are.
But I mean, like the idea at that point is it's not just that you have women; it's that they're beautifully attired. But in this world, they're perfect. There's not a defect on them.
Except the scars that Joe gave them himself.
Yeah, except for Angharad's facial
Face.
scars. But I mean, I can see why Immortan Joe wouldn't want to give them a lot of clothing if their value isn't in what he can give them, but is in the fact that they're genetically pure, for lack of a better
Yeah, I think
term,
that's spot
then-
on.
Then they wouldn't have a lot of clothing. But yeah, what is up with the marks on her face? Like, they're so sharp and clearly defined that it almost makes me think of like a razor blade was taken to her, but there's no discernible pattern that I can see. We stopped at second 26, and you get a really good front face shot of Angharad, and she has on her right side of her face.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is there.
We can take guesses based on what we know of them, what their personalities are. Angharad is not quite so brazen as, say, the Dag, but she's still stands tall. She still has a power unto herself, and it's clear, like it's apparent just from her bearing and from the way she interacts with people. I'm sure at some point that rubbed Immortan Joe the wrong way. And that's enough for someone like Joe to lash out.
Considering what he wears for body armor, he could have just maybe backhanded her once.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
If he's got a gauntlet or some sort of thing that he wears that's covered in old metals or bottle caps or something like that, a lot of small, sharp edges, one thrash with that across the forehead would probably cause some weird scarring like this. And they don't have Neosporin, so it's going to scar.
All I can think of is those scrubbing pads, you know, that you use on dishes.
Like a
Oh, like a Brillo pad.
No, but what is it called?
Scouring pad?
Wool, something wool.
Oh, steel wool.
Steel wool, that's it, thanks. I don't know why anyone would take steel wool to someone's face, but that's what it makes me think of.
This is the reason why you shouldn't use Mr. Clean magic erasers on your skin. No, don't listen.
No, you actually shouldn't, because the reason that they work is because they have little shards of metal in them. So my aunt told this story one holiday or other about a friend of hers like getting Sharpie on her face and like using a magic eraser and having to go to the hospital. And I was like, how dumb do you need to be to not realize that that's not a good idea?
Yeah.
The magic eraser isn't literally magic, which means it's either working through something sharp and pointy or something chemical that you don't want on your skin. What are you doing?
Yeah, it's essentially really fine sandpaper.
My understanding is that there's some kind of metal
Magic.
involved. Magic. It's magic. It's like alchemy.
Obviously.
I believe it's
alchemy is science.
melamine foam.
Yes.
Melamine foam. There you go. That's something you can Google.
Yeah, that.
Tell your friends.
Vegemite, something you said.
Right.
So, Liz, it's interesting that you bring up the idea of standing tall, because as we're looking at Angharad here at second 26, her head is pitched down. And she's looking not at Max, but at the gun. So it tells me that she's recognizing the danger of the situation and realizing that she needs to adopt a somewhat submissive pose.
She's definitely being cautious here. I would think any of the women in this scene, but in this world, in this sort of society that Immortan Joe has, like, you learn who to defer to. And the dude with the gun is definitely someone you want to, like, for all they know, he's just like Joe. So keep your head down, at least like play the submissive one and just, avoid getting shot.
And I don't know how much they are aware of how things work in the Citadel, but the reason Max is wearing the mask is because he's described as a raging feral and he needs to stay muzzled at all times. So if they know anything about the rule of thumb in the Citadel, they will know, okay, not only is this guy stumbling upon us, he's chained to a war boy, he's wearing a muzzle. So instantly those things all just add up to say, okay, this guy is especially dangerous. We don't know what he's going to do because he's not stable.
But she doesn't approach him the way that we would classically approach someone like I've ever done this.
Oh, yeah, like we did the other weekend, yeah.
But you have people who approach other people with firearms and their hands are away from their body and they're up. Right? You put your hands up. And now, admittedly, we've already got the giant shot of her pregnant belly, so we know she's dealing with a little bit of a different, set of physics than any of the other wives or even Furiosa. But she doesn't keep her arms away from the main part of her body. It's almost like maybe she's been around violence before and isn't quite as, okay, like trying to talk her way out of it. Just she's resigned isn't the word I'm looking for, but neither is comfortable, but somewhere in between.
She's had a gun pointed at her before, probably.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the look on her face in this is also a pretty resigned look, I would say. I like the look we're getting at Max's sweet bracelet.
The one that's all rope?
Yeah. It's like one of those paracord bracelets that you whip off if you need to climb.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
The thing I've thought of before about this paracord bracelet is that those are really hard to put back together once you pull the paracord. So has he never used it before? Or does he know how to put it back together? How to reweave it back into a bracelet?
He has a lot of time on his hands.
Yeah, that does seem really quite reasonable that he would know how to put it back.
You know who would know how to put it back? The people of Crafttown.
Absolutely.
That's going to be us in the post-apocalyptic world. We are going to be, and we're going to have to say it like they do in the, you've seen the Rated G 300 trailer, right? It's like old internet, and it was just like,
This is Geek Town!
that we'd have to say it, but it would be like, this is Craft Town!
I mean, I feel like I've in one of our previous appearances, I must have gone over my apocalyptic plan by now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, you have.
We are well aware that you are going to become a post-apocalyptic chainmail weaver.
Yes, thank you. See, I think Craft Town is already.
Did I have my book, though, when we talked about it last time?
Oh, yeah, the book that you bought
chain?
used to have a chain.
Yeah, all right. Craft Town will have surgery, which will maybe have some sterile method. Maybe a little.
Just do it like the Romans did and hold the instruments over the fire for a bit.
In a warming drawer.
Ready to go.
Is that how we think they warmed the
You warm
speculum?
up that, yeah. You warm
warming
up
drawer.
what you call it.
Yeah.
Speculum.
Speculum.
I know that you didn't want to be the one to say it, Rick.
Well, I
He doesn't know what it
don't
is.
have experience with it.
He has no idea what it is.
Well, Rick, basically what it is,
Oh, God, here we go.
it's like reverse, I don't even know how to explain it. It's like a little tube that they put into the vagina.
It looks
but
like a
then,
little gun.
Is it the thing that
but
looks like a
then-
duck?
Yeah,
Yeah,
It is,
then
it
you
is
open
the
it and
duck-billed thing.
it props open your hoo-ha.
Beyond
not
what is
to be
natural or
confused-
comfortable.
Yeah, not to be confused with the pear, which is a medieval torture device, and it goes in the back way.
In the butt.
In the butt.
What's this?
Hashtag butt.
What's
you never
hair?
heard of this?
No.
I don't know this either.
This was it was a torture device.
It was called I believe it was the anal pear.
Some people like
yeah.
butt play, okay? So
No,
let's
you
talk.
would
no,
not.
this is
What's the deal?
Well, imagine a speculum that opens in several directions and then continues to open regardless.
yeah, no, it was
You would die of internal bleeding.
yeah.
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 Well, that's the
Which is
idea.
slow and painful.
Yes.
Damn near rectum. I'm so proud of myself right now.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we can see that,
I
Karen.
want to somebody give me a high five.
No.
Thank you.
Oh, that was terrible.
Yeah.
That was a little better. It was still pretty bad.
I'm so chuffed.
Oh, God.
God.
Anyway.
I earned this drink.
So Angharad gives the water to Matt.
And he is very grabby. She
Yeah.
holds out the hose and he snatches it.
Well, it's a very desperate situation here. It's really tense for everybody.
Plus, the way she opens the valve just enough so that a little bit of water comes out is like, it's almost like she's messing with
A
it.
little
Like,
drop tease.
do you really want it? And then, yeah.
Give me the water.
And he has her turn around. And is
Right,
that just a safety measure so that, like,
I think he just wants her to go away from him.
No, it's absolutely a safety measure because he wants to use her A as a human shield, but also B as an insurance thing. Like, no one's going to make a move if she's like right in front of that shotgun because he doesn't need to have good aim or anything. In
Which
theory.
is good because he only has one hand left after holding up the gun. And there is the lever on the hose that he needs to open. And he struggles to do so. You can picture it because they don't really show it. But he's like pushing it against his leg, trying to get that lever open. And while doing so, the gun kind of wanders a little.
But he found the marble in the oatmeal, and so now he gets to drink from the fire hose.
yes! I'm so excited for a UHF reference. It makes me so happy.
I don't know if there is a dignified way to drink from a fire hose.
No.
But this is not it.
No.
Because he's just shoving it in his face and just...
Yeah, that's how you do it.
Wharrgarbl dog. You guys have seen the Wharrgarbl dog, right? This is like Mad Max is the Wharrgarbl dog. It's a dog drinking out of like a lawn sprinkler, and it's just its mouth is open and the water is just cascading past the dog. And someone made it into one of those accessories, so it's like the word, and then there's like a tiny phrase, and it says Wharrgarbl, and then the smaller part underneath is Wharrgarbl again, but in smaller text. It is one of the things on the internet that when I am in a bad way, if I'm in a bad mood or I'm having a terrible day, is one of those jokes on the internet where literally no one gets hurt.
Yeah, no, it's great.
So it's just evergreen and wonderful. The Wharrgarbl dog, and Max is now the Wharrgarbl dog.
This definitely brings me back to my childhood of drinking from the hose.
Why did we think that was a good idea?
No water ever tasted better than from the
hose
hose.
water.
You know why? Because it was always so cold.
Yes, it was
Yeah.
cold. And my favorite thing to do was basically what Max is doing is just stick the thing in your mouth
Yep.
and let it overflow.
And now, would never, I don't even like drinking out of water fountains, which I almost called a bubbler.
The regionalism. There's Wharrgarbl. Someone's gonna share that on the
Yeah,
group, right?
that's got to get on the Mad Max Minute Beyond microphone.
Right now.
Okay.
If you can
I had to look it
somehow
up. I've
find
never
a
seen it
way
before.
to like merge the two images, more power to you.
Oh, he can.
Yes.
No, this is it. Just take this screenshot. It's
Second 40.
and just write Wharrgarbl.
He's having this movie. I mean, granted, all Mad Max movies are Max's terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. But in particular,
It also reminds
This one takes the cake.
Yeah, it's a pretty
at
bad
least
day.
until the next one.
So far.
This shot does remind me of in the last Super Bowl, where there would just be someone who would walk up and, if a player needed water or a Gatorade or whatever, if they needed those electrolytes, they just hold still and, that assistant had just perfect aim, just whoosh, right through the the grill of the...
Yeah, with a little
Yes.
squeeze bottle.
Yeah.
I'm sure that position has existed for a long time, but all of a sudden he made it on screen on television during the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So everybody now know he
Oh,
exists.
the one where I first noticed it and was absolutely delighted was a woman. Yes.
Yes.
She's like, there you go. Look at that. You have your moment of Wharrgarbl, as it were.
When we saw Nux on Monday, he was very much out of it, I think is a kind way to put it. And as Max is spraying the fire hose into his face, the water is going everywhere. And some of it splashes on Nux's head as he's lying there. And his head rolls to one side, giving us a little hint. Okay, maybe he's not fully dead. Maybe he's just mostly dead.
I'm not
dead.
dead yet.
Yes, you are. You'll be stone dead in a moment.
He kind of recoils from the water, which makes me wonder, in a world where there is not a lot of water, would the feeling of being splashed in that manner be completely foreign, and would you naturally be ugh?
No, I can't. I feel like your body would respond well to it because it kind of wants that. But I don't necessarily think he's recoiling from it. I think he stirs,
The life-giving properties of water.
Well,
Yes.
I like it if the wives were using that water to purify themselves, to wash the stank of Immortan Joe.
This is Nux's baptism.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's the fact that he pulls away from it, even if it's just subconscious.
He is still
Oh,
fully
suddenly my idea is not so
indoctrinated.
dumb.
Well done, Caitlin. Caitlin up high.
No, it's okay, Karen.
But
It was
Karen
all-
says it better.
Well, no kidding.
She uses those fancy
She makes beautiful
literary
metaphors
words
and things.
Man's inhumanity to man.
So once Max has had his fill, his next task on his to-do list for that day is to be detached from Nux. And so he doesn't so much say anything as much as grab the end of his chain and hold it out, because he saw them clipping off those padlocks during Monday's Minute, and he is super jelly of those bolt cutters. And he's like, hey, let's get cutting.
My days as a Capri Sun are numbered.
So the thing is when I first watched this, I was completely confused by it. I thought that someone had grabbed him by the thing, because he almost jerks himself back with the power of his own. And it's dude, there wasn't a better way to get this message across. They're oh, look what he's doing to himself. Imagine what he's going to do to us. You're not helping your cause, bro.
He's just very
Crazy.
energetic. Emphatic. He's very emphatic.
Also, he must be sweating his bottom off in whatever terrible thing that is he's wearing.
Yeah, it looks like a thermal shirt.
Yeah, why are you wearing Under Armour, dude? Bad choice.
Why is there even a thermal shirt in Australia ever?
Hey, they have winter.
Yeah. If it drops below...
On fire?
That's California.
I'm trying to... I can't think in Celsius. I can only think in Fahrenheit. But if it ever drops below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, they shut down and go into hibernation because it's just too cold. It's
like Florida.
yeah.
Also in a desert, most of there's nothing there to...
It gets very cool, yeah.
Oh, really cold at night.
The other thing is that they probably want to make sure his circulation keeps flowing, and you want to keep him warm, don't you? Keep that blood flowing, Karen?
He's got no blood left. So one of the things that I'm kind of... So we're at what? We're at second 56. And one of the things I'm looking at as I'm once again looking at Furiosa's asymmetrical ruching, which still drives me crazy, is I'm wondering if there was a conscious costuming decision
Probably.
to have her be 3/4 truck and 1/4 wife.
Ooh, I
Yes.
like that.
I would expect that the ruching at the top was meant to be
Evocative of...
yeah, exactly. It was to visually connect her to the wives and to her past.
But is it like a damage meter of how much humanity she has left? Is that too far a row to hoe?
I don't think you're necessarily far off, because I would think that the intention was to show that she's very much steeped in the war boy culture as an imperator, but she still has, humanity.
Yeah, humanity.
Also, it's really unfair that she is that attractive with a buzz cut.
She has a very shapely head.
She does. She's got a great head.
I was looking at some up-close shots of her face earlier in the movie, and with no makeup and this black grease all over her face and no hair to speak of, Charlize Theron is a stunning woman. She's just so beautiful. On the idea of her outfit being 3/4 truck and 1/4 woman, the grease on her forehead, it's pretty full coverage at the moment. As we wear on in the movie, it starts to wear off. She starts to, for lack of a better term, soften a little bit. Her humanity starts to show through a little bit more. But then, as she's prepping to go through the canyon and she's got more fight ahead of her, she freshens up the grease paint on her forehead. She turns herself back into more percentage of trucker than human. So I really like that idea.
We don't want to say that people who are truckers are not human. Just in this instance, Furiosa's got two personas. She's got her Imperator persona and her Liberator persona. And she's just going from
persona.
Liberator back to Imperator. Max has indicated that he wants the chain cut, and so the DAG has been standing there with these bolt cutters, and her first instinct is to hand off the bolt cutters to Furiosa because she sure as heck isn't going over there with the crazy muzzled guy. Not going to happen.
I'm kind of surprised at that. She's pretty ballsy, the DAG.
She's got a lot of talk.
She's very blunt and straightforward in a lot of ways, and I'm sure like that would still count here, where she's just looking at that, she's like, nope, like I'm not doing that.
I don't think she wants to leave Cheeto. Like at this moment, sure, the DAG could do it, but she's more focused on, okay, I need to stay here and I need to be with Cheeto because Cheeto is freaking out.
Which is very sisterly and nice to see that even though they've lived this horrendous / luxurious life,
Like a semi-charmed kind of life.
thank you, that they have formed bonds with each other. And those bonds have helped them survive and probably helped to drive them to this point.
I kind of think, too, though, is it sort of maybe sets the precedent, because, like, Cheeto is the one who sort of turns traitor, right?
She's the one that kind of turns chicken, I'd say.
Yeah.
Well, the idea of sticking by whomever is going to most effectively protect her, and in this moment, the closest thing is the DAG, but then later it's going back to the relative safety and comfort that she knew.
She's young. The actress was born in 1996.
Oh, God, why did you tell me that?
Baby.
What was she, like 13 in this movie then? How old was she in this movie?
19.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Zoe Kravitz is the oldest wife. She was born in 88. And then Angharad and the DAG were both in 1987, and
Wait.
Capable was 1986?
Well, then that would make Capable the oldest.
Yes, that's how math works.
Mad Math Minute.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, sure. Okay, sorry.
Par for the course.
There are 5 of them.
That's good math.
Now,
Good job,
Four
Rick.
wives.
Richard, now you know how Mr. Bennett feels.
Was that
Pride
a
and
Jane
Prejudice.
Austen?
Oh, yeah.
The Jane
That's a deep
Austen
cut.
reference.
That was a deep Regency cut right there.
Not in our house.
Oh,
It's pretty surface cut.
oh I see. Okay.
So I just, the DAG is giving Furiosa the person. She's not wearing her prosthetic, which, how is she gonna use the?
Dude, she could do it one-handed. She's Furiosa.
That is true.
Okay, so I can tell you how she would do it, because I used to do this. I used to work at a retail store. We would receive shipments. So one of my jobs was you have to cut the bolts, because you have to witness the bolt being cut. You have to witness.
Witness.
Witness me! So,
Is this movie about you?
yes, it is.
Are they going to Xenia on atop it and throw it between her thighs or something?
So I'm just a girl. I'm not strong enough to cut the bolt. So I would take half the bolt and put it, this is really bad, I used to get bruises. I would put
my
it
God.
on my chest bone
Yes.
and then take the other half and just yank it towards myself as hard as I could and pop the bolts, no problem. I did have bruises on my chest.
Sure, whatever.
But that bolt got cut.
Yeah, that's probably how I'd do it too, actually, come to think of it.
Yeah, and I did it with 2 hands because I had 2 hands, but you could do it with 1 hand that way.
I would find some way to, because my legs are stronger than my upper body.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I would go for the legs too.
That'd be quite the gymnastics.
I would actually probably just use my arms, but
So if you were in this situation, you would ask Max to lay down on the ground so that you could use your legs to squeeze the bolt cutters.
Yeah, that's how that. Excuse me, Mr. Max, could you just lie down with your pillow lips behind closed? That's actually kind of interesting.
Yes.
No, I'm just thinking of like.
Yeah,
you're right. Wasting those lips.
In which women have their face covered, and it's usually that part of their mouth that's covered, and then in this instance, we have the women showing much more skin than Max, and
Max is.
Sorry, that was the thing I thought of.
I like that. I don't think that's ever been said before.
That's a good point.
In all the minutes that Max has been wearing this veil over his face.
I also, now, like, seeing this minute over again, Furiosa's belts? I want them.
I think it's actually a fanny pack.
Well, I'm
Well, yeah.
Like one of those like really gross like leather fringedy ones.
I mean, kind of literally, depending on the national usage of, because of where it's hanging.
I wonder if that's intentional,
Yes,
right?
it is absolutely a reference to the chastity belts.
Yeah.
It's absolutely. It's just a reinvention of it, because the chastity belts themselves, they have that same, the cult of the What's It logo.
V8.
Thank you.
Oh, see, I was thinking more of kilts. And what's the thing that they wear?
I can't remember what that thing
There's
is
a
called.
name for it.
Yes.
It's a sporin.
Yes, a sporin.
Yes, a neosporin.
So would this be a neosporin because it's new age?
Yes, if Furiosa's belt was a sporin and it was created in a neo-type age, then it would be a neosporin.
Well, my day is made.
I'm glad we were here.
Are you
for this.
satisfied?
Yes.
Are you not entertained?
Because Rictus is wearing a similar sporin out of a doll head.
I was so convinced that was a skewed baby.
I wanted that to be a baby face.
I am so happy that that is disproved, because we were chatting off mic about that and I was truly disturbed by that imagery.
I mean, well,
I'm going to go home and read the comics now.
just to solidify that it is not
Yes.
a baby face.
I am less creeped out by a house full of baby dolls than human taxidermy.
Yeah, I was so off mic, I was wondering whether or not the disarticulated skull was his neck. And I was told I was wrong, but my head can
Totally baby face on
That's fair.
his belt. Yeah. It's how he honors them.
all the way down.
Honors and claims them.
Yep. He's witnessing them.
Yeah, though also making it about him, because that's what he does.
So a sporin is distinctly masculine in Scottish culture, but a chastity belt is distinctly feminine. So what Furiosa is wearing, is it a masculine sporin or is it a feminine chastity belt representation?
Well, I think we should nip it in the bud that it is just a metal emblem hanging from a bell. I'm going to see if I can
Then it's a sporin.
pause it.
Yeah.
Just saying. There's no
Yes, a
You know,
sporin
you
is
can
a
put
pouch.
it's like a
there's
man
no
purse.
pouch. There's no
You put it over your
pouchish
man purse.
qualities. It is a metal emblem attached to the belt with little dangly chains at the bottom. Purely decorative. There's no function to this
Yeah,
thing
but I
unless
think
it's
it
got a
definitely-
bottle opener on it.
It definitely does strike me as being closer to the chastity belt though than to a sporin.
It's like the chains they hang from signs to let you know if your truck is too large to go under an incoming bridge.
Can I make a quick comment about the ruching on her humanity portion? It bothers me because it looks like her right side boob. It looks like the shirt is just caught on her boob instead of falling smoothly over. So I just want to straighten it out for her.
With a shirt like this, you're almost bound to have it be moved around and wrinkled and whatnot because she wears the harness over it all of the time. One of the major reasons that we're noticing it now is because her prosthetic is hanging from the rearview mirror over there.
It's like in high school, I wore my backpack around and like my shirt in the back would like work itself up by the backpack. I hated that.
Right. And so with Furiosa, the two things to keep in mind is that one, the aforementioned harness for the prosthetic, and two, the fact that when she's in the truck, her right hand is going to be moving a lot because she's shifting gears.
And
So it's
Yeah,
all that
so
fabric
it has
around.
worked its way up her shoulder.
Yeah.
And 3, I'm guessing she's not too concerned with fashion.
No.
No, she's not going to straighten it out.
I mean, I suspect that fabric, the fact that the wives are wearing it, this has got to be some rare, nice material. I mean, the fact that it's also white, or at least probably was white to begin with, or very light colored.
It's as white as it can be, considering they just drove through a sandstorm.
Yeah, so imagine what it was like when they were still living in their little bubble.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's natural.
That's what I'm thinking. That's why I started to say white, and then I stopped and I looked at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's what it is that it's unbleached cotton.
Because they have the green. They can plant.
They grow cotton?
A certain amount of cotton.
Yeah.
Well, it is the fabric of our lives.
Aww.
Linen is also made from plants, right? Flax.
This has been your fabric minute. Yes.
Linen would be more comfortable in this environment, lighter.
Yeah.
Cotton can be, yes, it's the fabric of our lives, but
But that's just clever marketing.
yeah, it can be quite uncomfortable.
But just think about all the extra things you could make with cotton, like cotton balls and Q-tips.
I'm looking at how they're living, though, and I'm thinking that level of personal hygiene is not real high.
You're going to tell me these guys don't have Q-tips?
They do not.
Oh my god. How do they live?
Well, that's why they're shouting all the time. They've ruptured their eardrums.
It's all,
Yeah,
it's all
'cause they've-
painted wax.
Well, it's because they've been using something much worse than Q-tips to try to get it out, probably.
They may not have Q-tips, but they probably do have feminine hygiene products.
You think? You don't? You think they're? You don't
They're
think
not-
they're just kind of?
I doubt they're free
bleeding?
bleeders.
No, yeah. I mean, that's something that's always existed in, throughout history. Like,
But you figure they probably have, like, the big rewashable cotton.
I mean, probably the wives, yeah.
Things.
There
Yeah.
are other women in this world.
Who
They've-
I suspect the other women who are not privileged like these women are free bleeders.
Oh, yeah.
I
They
kind
don't even
No.
have water. They
Yeah.
don't even have the, water is so scarce. How would
I mean-
you use a reed rod?
I actually wonder how many of these women actually are menstruating to begin with.
That's a fair question.
Because,
Because they're malnourished, probably.
right,
Well-
and I think of almost like, what's that? Ooh.
Just keep going.
You're doing
What's
great.
that movie with Clive Owens, Children of
Children of
Children of Men. Yeah, it's another
Like, I
post-apocalyptic.
kind of wonder if, like, the lack of water and the lack of resources and all this stuff has led
Occasional
to...
radiation.
Yeah, well, because, like, there's a reason why Morton Joe or whatever is boinking these girls, and I'm sure it's not just because they're pretty, it's probably also because since they are the least deformed, they are the most likely to be viable. And even these women who are, he's choosing, like, the best of the best or whatever, even a lot of them aren't able to, or any of them at this point, right? Like, because, do we know if he's got a lot of kids? Sorry, it's been a while. I don't remember.
He doesn't have a quote unquote worthy heir yet. So he does not have a perfect child.
But how
Yeah.
many
A perfect son.
how many childs does he have?
Well, at least three
At least three that are
Yeah,
that we know of.
to adulthood.
But I would argue there's probably many, many more.
At least a
Those three,
handful.
though.
Rictus erectus.
Oh, those are his kids.
Yeah,
Oh, I
Rictus
thought they were his
erectus,
brothers. I'm
Scabrous
sorry.
scrotus, and Corpus colossus.
Gotcha. Okay, I thought someone had said maybe during the last minute that they were Joe's brothers, but they're his kids.
They are his sons.
Gotcha. It's been a while.
You kind of figure to go back on the fertility kick. I mean, if someone who can menstruate doesn't, your reproductive issues.
Right.
So if you're starving,
So
Yeah,
no
reproduction is a
tampons,
thing.
no problems.
Yeah, reproduction is a thing that happens when everything else is taken care of. If you can't take care of your own body, you're not going to have offspring.
So that pretty much brings us to the end of this minute. So come back on Friday because we'll get to see the DAG spot some trouble on the horizon. We'll see that Max is not satisfied with the level of service he's receiving, and Furiosa is going to pull the trigger with a head-on approach.
The Mad Max Minute podcast is a fan project by Rick and Julia Ingham.
The Mad Max franchise was created by George Miller and Byron Kennedy, is presented by Kennedy Miller Mitchell Productions, and distributed by Warner Brothers.
Mad Max Minute is produced and edited by Rick Ingham. Our opening music is Verdi's Dies Irae by Daniel Bautista of danielbautista.com.
Our home on the internet is madmaxminute.com. You can follow us on Twitter at madmaxminute, like us on Facebook by searching for Mad Max Minute, and join our Facebook listener group, Mad Max Minute Beyond Microphone.
If you'd like to support the podcast, visit madmaxminute.com, where you can see what's in our TeePublic store, join our Patreon, or even donate to the show to help us keep the tanks full.
Thank you for joining us for minute 35 of Fury Road. We'll see you next time.